I believe there's a lot of people out there suffering in silence, and I'm one of them. You know, for the last 8 weeks, I've been suffering in silence, and I've decided I want to open up to the world. I've been so lucky in life, you know, I've never had a broken arm, broken leg. I've never been to hospital. 6 weeks ago, totally out of the blue, I've been having a number of headaches, and headaches, not migraines or headaches at the forefront of your head. I've been literally holding my hand to the back of my head on a number of days, and one of the crucial things has been losing focus in my day-to-day work, and I thought, hang on, this is not right. Speaking to my wife Anita about it, she's like, you need to get to the doctors. So for a change, I listened to my wife and I went to see the doctor, and the doctor said, this isn't normal, we need to refer you for an MRI. And it was the 9th of May when I went back to the hospital. This is when my world was turned upside down. It was like being punched in the nose by Tyson when he brought these MRI scans up on the computer screen and showed me my skull with a big lump on one side, and then showing me another scan like of a helicopter view of my brain and the 2 main blood vessels going to the brain, and showing me the 2 lumps and telling me these were chordoma tumours. You know, my wife had said, be positive, you're always positive, go and have a word, see what's what, everything will be fine. So there I am, get in my car, go to Sheffield, and little did I know, not even in the wildest dreams, whatever, not even on the radar, I've suddenly been hit and diagnosed with cancer. Chordoma tumour, I've found out since, is a very, very rare condition. And when I say rare condition, 1 in 800,000 people get this condition in the UK. That's around 40 people in the whole of the UK population in a year. And this is why I'm back to telling the story today, because I think there's so much already in a matter of weeks that I've learnt that I've never been prepared for. Nobody's prepared me for this.
Describe the emotions that you went through when you got back home and told your wife Anita.
Well, the emotions just driving back were incredible. To be honest with you, I don't even know how I got home, because my head was just gone. And then when I came home, I remember I'm in the kitchen and she's, you know, I'm thinking, here we go, she's going to expect me to say everything was fine. And I just said, look, I've got news for you. I'm not going to tell you. I actually played the recording.
Anita, when Sanjay came back and he played you that recording, how did you feel?
Terrified, if I'm honest. He's always been my go-to for everything. So suddenly, you know, when you get that sort of news where you feel almost like the rug's being pulled from beneath you, it's a terrifying prospect. You know, I am a worrier, so, you know, when it comes to something like this, yes, I know I should just be thinking about him and how he's feeling, but part of you also worries about the effects of what's happening to him, to the rest of the family.
I think like any family are just totally devastation, distraught. And again, it's not just my wife and daughter, you know, my immediate family, my mum and dad, you know, they're in their 80s. I didn't want to speak to them on the phone. I went and see them face to face. And I can imagine that for my immediate family, wife, daughter, whatever, even to this day, 8 weeks in, I still think they're hurting, but they're not really showing that.
Talk to me about the tests that you've had and what the operation's going to look like.
Yeah, this is the gruesome stuff. Basically, since my MRIs and the confirmation of having a chordoma tumour, 9th of June, first time I've ever experienced being in the operating theatre, basically had a biopsy to confirm what they suspected. So biopsy is basically they took some samples of the tumour to confirm it really is what they're saying, and also to determine is it benign or malignant. It took me 5 hours to come around from the biopsy, and they tell me that's just a very minute kind of operation, which was about an hour. And I was stayed in overnight in intensive care at the Royal Hallamshire Hospital in Sheffield. So that was stage one. Then I got a call last Thursday from my consultant to say it's malignant, it's cancerous, and obviously they now want to operate. And this operation you're talking is a minimum of an all-day operation, so you can imagine the complexities. And even then they can't assure me at the moment whether it's going to be 3 operations. Because of the tumour, I also got problems at the top of my spine, and to find the surgeon that's actually done this is like finding a needle in a haystack. You know, I've met 2 surgeons now. The first one, we met him about 10 days ago at the Royal Hallamshire in Sheffield, and you know, we were with him for an hour, and it was a very brutal meeting. To be fair, I came away, and the following day I flew away out of the country. I needed time because I felt like, you know, literally life had come to an end. You know, when you're told you could be paralysed, you could be having a stroke, you could have meningitis, you could lose your life. There's a whole host of things. And this is something 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks ago never even crossed my mind. I went to the Alexandra Hospital in Cheshire. I met a surgeon there, and I mean, he gave me confidence because he said to me, actually, the questions, the things that you're doing, the research, I actually applaud you for it, because that'd be exactly what I'd be doing. He said, I have so many people come to me. Unfortunately, they're coming to me second time round. The first time they got it wrong, they didn't do the research, and the surgery they've had has really not been successful. And obviously I don't want to be in that situation, because when it's skull base, I think you've only got one chance. Hence why I'm going to Harley Street, London today to speak to another surgeon. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've got some harrowing, gruesome days, nights, weeks and months ahead. In terms of recovery, could be 6 months, could be 12 months, who knows. But one thing I've been told, is definitely life-changing. So when somebody tells you that, when you've been going along and everything's been fine, this is where, you know, it's taking me time to process everything. I'm really, at the moment, I'm in a whirlwind. I'm just going with the flow, because for me, for once in my life, I have no control. I don't know where it's going to lead to. I'm on the road to the unknown. Some of it's been a case of I'm sick of talking about it. I've now got to the point where I do want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it and let the world know what I'm going through, and hopefully if there is somebody out there that's going through the same, or it happens, I want them to be aware of what is out there and what can be done.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask, is that what prompted you to consider sharing your journey during what is considered probably the darkest period of a human can be, knowing that potentially you could, you know, you could die.
Well, I'll tell you what's inspired me. Sarah Beanie versus Cancer. She did a documentary about 4 weeks ago on Channel 4, and she literally documented her 8 months of hell because she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And to be honest, I'd not even heard of it. A friend of mine said, you must watch this. So I watched it on a Friday night with my wife, and I've got to say, the thing that really resonated with me was in the first few minutes of the documentary, she said, I want to fight all this on my own. I don't want to tell anybody about it. And you know what? That's exactly how I felt, the same. And then she decided, for the good of the world and to reach out and see if there's somebody out there that she could actually help, I thought, you know what, that's the best thing I learned from that documentary, that if I could put my story out there, anything in there that touches a nerve for somebody else and helps, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm saying, like, even in Sarah Beanie's, yeah, I've heard of chemotherapy. It's a word and things that are used and synonymous with cancer, but actually watching her documentary and watching her get in an IV drip in her arm and this is chemo, that was something I never knew. So even, at that point, 55 years of age, I've learned something new. And I think anything like that even on my journey, that you follow me on, if there's anything we can document to help other people, I think it's a given. The other thing I want to say today as well, I've had to do a lot of research, and one of the best charities I've found is the Bone Cancer Research Trust, which again, they're based in Leeds, and their guides and things have really helped me and put my mind at ease of what this tumour is all about. So for me, it's only right that I pay my thanks back and sort of raise funds for that charity, because it's not a massive charity, and every charity these days still needs funds.
Your friend Tom Panos has beaten cancer 3 times. How has his journey helped you?
Well, I'm glad you've mentioned that, because Tom, to this day, he's been an absolute rock. A guy who's very busy, who's had cancer 3 times. He lost his brother at 41 years of age of cancer. This guy's absolutely got the stripes. And since I had my diagnosis, he was the first guy that I reached out to. And he's been an absolute rock for me since I've reached out to him. In his busy schedule, whatever, he'll send me a text, he's called me up, and he's just there for me. And some of the messages, they've brought tears to my eyes, because the relationship and friendship we've built up, we're like brothers. And he was the first guy I turned to.
How has this diagnosis impacted your professional life, especially considering that prominent position in the estate agency industry?
Massive. Francis, Bronwyn, they're my senior team members. They manage the business on day to day. They were the 2 people I spoke to after I spoke to my wife, because it was really important for me to make them aware of what I'm going through. And obviously they're aware, because we're working together every day. They've been aware of some of my symptoms and issues. A long, long time ago, when I came into my own businesses from my previous life running bingo clubs and things, I learned I have to have people that are self-sufficient and stand on their own 2 feet. And for me, I've always developed my teams to be like that. And to be fair, Fran's been running the business for a while now. Okay, so I'm very lucky and fortunate as a business owner that I've got teams here and in South Africa that can run and manage the business without me. I'm their soundboard, I'll be with them every day. But even Bronwyn said to me the other day, I've had you in my ears for 6 years, I know the vision, I know what needs to happen. And that brings a smile to my face, because these ladies, they're powerful, they're self-sufficient, always there for them. But like now, in my darkest moments, they're going to be stepping up, and they're there for the challenge. They've told me this.
How did it hit you when you heard this news?
Shell-shocked, absolutely shell-shocked, and I'll never forget the time that it happened. We was in his office, and he'd come straight from the hospital. When we sat down, and I says, right, how did you get on at the hospital? You're away Thursday, how long are you away for? He just had tears in his eyes. And before he even told me what the diagnoses were, I knew it wasn't good. It's not a secret between me, Sanjay, Anita, Shanice as well, and Bronwyn. We are a close-knit working family. And we're always checking in with one another, and I know the biggest way that I can support Sanjay is to carry on by doing what I'm doing and making sure the team and the business is running, is growing, is successful. That's the biggest way I can support Sanjay, and that's what I will do and continue to do. He always jokes and says, if I'm not here for 6 months, how are you going to cope? Well, now's the time to shine, and if you're not going to step up now, when are you going to? But this is what we've been working towards.
How did you learn to let go of the reins and not be in control?
Right, 2 things, and they're 2 simple words. One is trust and one is development. Okay, so like Bronwyn, some people find it absolutely bizarre. So I've got a business in South Africa. Bronwyn's been my PA for 7 years. She's head of operations. I've never met Bronwyn personally in a meeting in person, yet she's got my bank account details, she's got everything to run my life. Yeah, this is somebody I've not even met in a room. Okay, there'll be others that would absolutely, business owners would be like, you are crazy, there's no way I'm going to do that. Well, that's built on trust and development, and it's also about having core values. And if you've got these core values aligned with your people, I don't think you have an issue. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, to try and send a message out there that as a business owner, whether you like it or not, something like this could happen. I never thought it was going to happen to me, but here I am today talking about something I'd never planned to talk about. And for me, I see so many owners doing the wages, doing the valuations, doing everything, and as I call the £5 task rather than the £1,000 task. And when something like this happens, it's an absolute devastation for everybody. And let me also tell you, Chris, the other thing, that in my business, I'm saying this about my ladies, yeah, but even for my own wife, she doesn't really have any idea about my business. So already she's had to have meetings with Fran, with Bronwyn, to find out what happens on a day-to-day basis, get more involved, just so that she could be a support for the rest of the teams.
How has your relationship changed because of this diagnosis?
I think there's been days where it's been stressed. We've had some ding-dongs. Obviously, we just celebrated 34 years wedding anniversary, 33 years wedding anniversary only a couple of weeks ago. But I'd be lying if I said, oh, everything's rosy in the garden. It isn't, because, you know, I know what type of person she is, and she is a worrier naturally. This has definitely just absolutely devastated her, and more importantly, just in the last week or so, you know, I feel really bad myself, because the burden, you know, like the Sarah Beanie programme, it's not just about me, it's the impact it has on my family, because the people in the family, they're travelling along the same journey even though they don't have the symptoms and the issues.
I think, as we all know, Sanjay is a very positive person, so, you know, I can't, you know, it's hard not to be positive around him, and for something like this, you know, we've had to be positive, we've had to be pragmatic. I think it's, you know, if I'm honest, I don't try and think about it too much, you know, because if I think about it too much, I'd be worrying. So I just have to take each day at a time. You know, what's really helped me, what's helped us, I think, is to keep busy, to do the things that we like to do, that we enjoy doing. So we've been really getting out there, meeting our friends, meeting our family, you know, having these memories, but also, you know, taking, you know, time away from just sitting and dwelling and thinking and worrying about the situation, just to enjoy ourselves in the moment, really. You know, obviously in the mix of that, we've got to deal with the important things as well. Absolutely, it's a given. But, you know, when you've got your good days, you try and do as much as you can, but just keep, you know, working through the journey, really.
Well, I think there's always this adage of we're too young, nothing's ever going to happen to us because we're too young. Okay, and the one thing I've learned, you know, I don't drink, I don't smoke, none of it. It can happen to anybody at any time. And that's what has been a big shock to my system. As I said, I've been living life in the fast lane. Life's been good. You know, you look all the social media posts, you think, bloody hell, these people, their lives are wonderful. But then, boom, like a juggernaut, I've been hit. And now I've got some major things, you know, ahead of me.
Sanjay, 8 weeks ago you were diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. I must admit, I think you're very brave doing what you're doing today. Final thoughts. Is there anything you've learnt that you can give advice to anyone watching this if they're in the same position as you are?
Yeah, I think that's an important question, and I think, as I said earlier, look, none of this, I've not been trained for it, it wasn't on my radar, and the things that have really hit me, I'm just so glad, number one, I'm just so glad that for all the years I've had a private doctor, I've had private medical with Bupa, where I've been paying a few £100 a month, But you know what, that was a choice, that was something I wanted to do. Not because I saw something, you know, long term or whatever, it was just something I believed in. One of the things I still can't get around in my head is I come across people, they insure their cars, they insure their dogs, they insure their tellies, but they don't insure themselves. And I think, had I been in that situation where I hadn't insured myself, then maybe the first surgeon I've seen already would have been my only choice. Secondly, critical illness. Lots of people do not have critical illness policies. Again, my wife's in financial services. A long time ago, she advised me that I should take that. And I was a bit of a belt and braces man, wanted to just cover my bases, and I took that out. However, even though I took it out, something I've learned is you need to review it annually, because the cover you might have taken 6 years ago may be 50 grand, or 50 grand in 10 years time is not 50 grand. Lots of people I still talk to, they don't have wills, they don't have, you know, inheritance, trust and things. So all these kind of things that, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we need to prepare ourselves in life. And it doesn't matter what age, because the younger you are, the more you think it's never going to happen. I think this is the time, in your darkest moments, you realise who your friends are, who your family are, and trust me, you can count them on one hand, okay? Because lots of people actually do lots of talking, but just to even send a text to say, how are you, it's amazing. And the one thing that's keeping me going right now is when I scroll back on all my messages and things from family and that, it brings a smile to my face. And in these times of adversity, that's all I can do. You know, what has happened to me, no one's going to take that away from me now. That's happened to me, that's fact. So I have two choices. I either deal with it inwards or I deal with it outwards. And I've now decided after a number of weeks, it's time to go outwards and let everybody else know I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm just looking to help people. And if somebody rang me and said, you know what, I saw your story or watched it and there's something there that resonated with me, that will put the biggest smile on my face. I don't know what lies ahead of the road for me, but I'm going to just keep going.